Good evening and welcome to episode 3 of the Football Conversations, which is brought to you by Foz Media. Foz Media specialise in web design and digital marketing. You can find all information about them in the description below. Tonight, I'm pleased to be joined by Andy Bollen, who is an author, and in particular, we're going to focus on one theme tonight, which is Johan Cruyff, and in particular, Cruyff's year at Feyenoord, which Andy chronicled in his brilliant book, Fierce Genius, which we have here. Andy, thanks for joining me. How are you?
I'm great, thanks. I can't believe I think it's 2021. So I did that book, so it's been quite a number of books since then. But yeah, I'm great, thanks. It's definitely winter.
Yeah, no, as you said, there have been a number of books, and we'll go on to that later on. This book, it was such an eye opener because I think it's such a story that's pretty unheard of. Not a lot of people have looked into this. And what really was it, out of all the aspects of Cruyff's life, what inspired you to write about this particular period?
Well, I knew about it for a long, long time. There was always a link to Feyenoord with I support Celtic. Don't shout at me or anything. But the idea was that there was always a link with Feyenoord and Celtic fans, and it was always a fact that I think I get told it when I was about 8 or 9. That I wouldn't have been that young, but there was always a link with Feyenoord, I should say, from that age. But when I got older, everybody who I knew who wrote football books and was involved in football, no one knew about it.
No.
Really, really learned guys who knew, journalists, people like that, they needed a nudge, and then it's what he did. And then I said, well, he won the cup and the league. And he was the player of the year.
Yeah.
And the team was Ruud Gullit. And then it starts to ring a bell. So it was always a thing. I got to a point, I'm not making this up, Callum. I stopped telling people. I thought, I'm going to stop telling people this.
Yeah.
And that's when it was always a thing that I had in the back of my head to do. And I've never told anyone this before, it's a wee bit exclusive, but Fierce Genius was the name of a novel I had.
Oh, okay.
So, and I stole it from myself, so it doesn't count if you steal it from yourself. So I used the title, and I thought, that's my title. And then all I had to do was get my subtitle, and I thought, Cruyff's year at Feyenoord. And then it was just, it wrote itself. And then my idea was I was going to try and, I've written a few books, but this particular book, I thought, I'm going to write this like a film script, and I wanted to make it as cinematic as possible.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, how all these sort of Netflix and all these sort of sports videos, sports programs you see now. And I thought, I'm going to try and splice it up.
Yeah.
I'll have chunks of the season, wee bits of the season, 3 or 4 games. Then I'll go to something that happened to him when he went to America, for example.
Yeah.
Then I'll start at another point where he's playing in like one of his third European Cup final. Then I'll go to him like being a wee guy cleaning out the dressing rooms at Ajax and all that. Just like I made it. I just there was an opening scene in my head. I wrote it like a movie script, and there was an opening scene in my head. It was in Bettencourt, which is this sort of concrete architect, sort of typical 1960s place, maybe even before that, post-war place that he lived and grew up. There's if you see footage, there's early footage of him playing keepy-uppy and running about playing and taking the mickey at older people. And it all just seemed to cut. I know it sounds like I'm a bit of a hippie. I know it's stupid here just now, but I felt as if it all seemed to be in all these wee fragments, and it all just seemed to come together. And then in 1982, which I think you probably come to, I actually saw him play live.
Yeah. No, we are definitely going to come to that, because it's always. Yeah. I'm always interested in people that have seen these guys live, and
I see I'm old.
Yeah, but the thing is, Cruyff kind of spans the whole of football history, doesn't he? His influence is so big. What point for you personally did he become a hero?
1974, the summer of the World Cup of '74. My grandparents are long gone now, but they were from Hamilton, and they had a colour TV. Mm-hmm. And we used to say to my mum, I said, we're going over at my grand's tonight and all that. Oh, go over if you want, pal. We would go, we'd be over, and then we'd end up staying and end up so I could watch the TV. But my grand always said he was a boxer and a really good sportsman and all that. But I think he liked the horses the best. I didn't inherit that because he used to win, I never won. Anyway, so getting to the point, Granda Peter got me into, when he was into his football, and he kept on saying, watch, he told me to watch him. And I always remember the rain, you're too young. I always remember West Germany, there was actually ambulances and fire brigade come onto the ground to get rid of the water. There was so flooded half the time because it was Germany and the rain and all that. But it was floodlights and the beautiful strip, and just There was one game though, where I think it was one of the games. It was against Brazil, and Brazil played in blue.
Yeah.
I got to see most of the games, apart from the final. I saw that in black and white in our house.
Mm.
But that was it. That was when I saw him, and from that moment on, so I would have been about 7 or 8, and
Yeah.
just playing football. And there was guys like used to always sort of try the Cruyff turn and try and practice and play with keep you up anytime you could play football all the time, just playing football, just constantly. And he was always one of my heroes. Him and it would be Glenn Hoddle, and then it would be people like, I would get too old by this point, but it'd be guys like Charlie Nicholas and all that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Brings us to Ajax again and beating them.
Yeah. Glenn Hall's interesting because there was a really interesting quote that you.
Passing the torch. Sorry, you go on.
Yeah, you put it was in the book. Was it he was a presence without a shadow while he tried to match
What a line.
Mark. That's incredible, isn't it?
He said he was just he knew then. I think he knew that there was 2 points in that season, but he knew I'm too old for this. But he never admitted it. And one was near the end, whenever pretty much like in the UK, like in Scotland and England, they definitely they play a lot of games over the Easter. But
Yeah.
he had two. I think he had some like 3 games over. Maybe no, he had 3 games within a 5-day period. He had 2 at the same weekend, and he got up one morning. He couldn't walk down the stairs. Anyway, we were all off on a tangent there. Yeah, against Hoddle, they played in the UEFA Cup, isn't it?
Yeah.
It was definitely, maybe it wasn't Cup Winners' Cup. I think it was UEFA Cup they played, or was it Cup? But anyway, they played in the sort of the second tier of the European competition, and Hoddle was he laid I think he created all the goals, and Hoddle was just like total. I mean, Cruyff, I should say, was just couldn't speak highly enough about Hoddle. He was just in it. But Hoddle was he was maybe about 24, 25, but he'd been playing for Spurs since he was about 17.
Yeah.
He was a hardened pro, and he knew, but he was at his peak at that point. Every time he put the tail on, he was scoring all these incredible goals.
Yeah. So if we go to the move then, Cruyff, when he goes to Feyenoord, what are the big differences between Ajax and Feyenoord as clubs, as cities, everything that goes into a rivalry? What sets them apart?
Well, the most important thing for Cruyff was he had a gate deal, and it was his wage was based on the amount of people that came through the gate. So Ajax, the first big difference you would say is the attendances.
Yeah,
because Ajax were getting like 30,000 or 20. They were in the old stadium, De Meer, is it? I think it's called, and then you've got the keep is about 60,000, and it's so. And I think it's even bigger now, or is it round about then? But anyway, get to the point. So that was the first thing. The second thing was Ajax up in Amsterdam. We always say they're like sort of liberal, sort of trendy, they probably read the Guardian and all that, and sort of all vegetarian, and go to galleries and do drugs and all that.
Yeah.
See dirty women in the windows. And when they come down to Feyenoord and they're the workers, there's an old saying, famous saying, you sort of party in Amsterdam, sort of work in Rotterdam, and then it's like in the capital. What was the other place? I forgot. Eindhoven? No, not Eindhoven. What's the other place?
PSV Eindhoven.
I think Den Haag. Right. You go there to sort of live and have your family and be sensible.
Right.
That's the kind of a vibe about it, but that's a bit oversimplistic. So it's the gate, it's the culture, as you say. It's just it's like more like Feyenoord's like Hamburg. You can't imagine saying that. I get my head kicked in by both of them. But Feyenoord's are like it's more like the Hamburg sort of situation where it's all hard working guys. Yep. It's a big mix. It's a big cultural mix. So you've got all that. So there's all these different elements that come into football. The crowd and the passion and the fervour. And the Feyenoord fans are they're more like they're loyal no matter how bad the team are. They always showed up. Whereas Ajax fans are like, they're not playing well stuff. They're not getting their money.
Yes,
that was the kind of attitude they had. Maybe I don't know what this example would be in English football or Scottish football, but
a bit fair weather, a bit kind of
sing when we're winning kind of thing. You show up and they're doing well. Whereas the final support were always, and a lot of people don't realise it, but at one point, whenever Ajax won the European Cup, they won it 3 years in a row, 71, 72, 73, and Cruyff and Total Football. But Total Football was really invented by the wee guy who was at Feyenoord the season before, famous Austrian.
Happel.
Yes, well played. So Happel's there, and he's done all this. And then there's a famous game that Happel played against Ajax, and it was like a cup game or something, or a famous league game, and they finished 3 each. But after that, Rinus Michels knew what he had to do,
Yeah.
changed it, and then he started playing the same way as the Feyenoord team had been playing. The team that beat Celtic in 1970, they won the
Yeah.
European Cup. They won the European Cup first.
Yes.
The Dutch clubs, sorry. But so you've got all that in the mix as well. So there's a competitive, a sporting edge to it.
Yeah.
And Ajax became this incredible team. They were like, they were just like this machine, and they were beating everyone. But and then final went backwards a wee bit. But it's all about money, and the Ajax guys were. And the Dutch football is really weird because you get a certain amount of money a week or a month, and you don't get your big money till you and your pension till you're 40. So that's a good idea. I think they still do it, but they might have to. Maybe it's changed now because of the FA rules and all that. Their union and everything. So that's your kind of your rough differences are cultural, political, just a sort of style, and there is that thing where the final team that Cruyff played in was a classic example of it. They were a really, really workman-like team.
Yeah.
Who he moulded.
Yeah.
There weren't any super. There was a young Retool that was in it, but there weren't any superstars in the team.
And he kind of put his arm around them and guided them. Then these guys who
The manager was a guy called Tish Ligbrix or something. His name was. I can never get his. I don't know if that's the right Dutch, and he just let Johan Cruyff do what he wanted. Free
rein.
He was a pragmatist, He said, "Well, you're in the park," and he was basically coaching them.
Yeah.
What to do.
But he's always pointing, isn't he, Cruyff? Whenever you see him, he's always pointing. And even I think
did that when I saw him in real time as well. So that's what he did all the time.
But I'm sure the statue of him outside the Nou Camp, I've seen that, and I'm pretty certain he's pointing in that. That's his thing. But just when we're going about football rivalry and everything that flies into the melting pot, how was he received?
When he joined, when he went to Feyenoord, they hated him.
Yeah. So they actually
Feyenoord forever, Cruyff never was the famous big banner they had. They were mental. They didn't show up, and then they started winning.
Yeah.
I think they get the first 6 games. It was like 6 wins and 2 draws, and then do you know what the score was in the next game?
Is this when they played Ajax?
Played Ajax, and they got pumped 8-2.
Yeah.
It was just an incredible turning point. But you're maybe going to come to that because that's like a huge part of the book. I think. I always think it's always like if there's this inciting incident and they get in a film or in a novel or something, a thriller. He played in this game. Sorry, I'm getting too. I haven't spoken to Cruyff for about 3 years or 4 years. So
that's all right.
Let it all out. 4 years.
That's why it's here. You know what I mean? On you go. I want to hear it.
Thanks very much for asking me again. I'm really enjoying myself. So tell me to slow down.
No, fine away.
What I was thinking about the game in 8-2, and I tell my pals this as well in this season that whenever he played for him, he could beat 8-2, and then went on the Dutch Coventry match of the day.
Yeah.
He told the nation, like on a Saturday night after he beat 8-2, Feyenoord going to win the league now, and they all started laughing. They thought he'd lost the plot, and they were ridiculing him. I mean, he was in all the cartoons, everything. They were all the sort of the phone-ins and all the sort of the equivalent of. They were all going mental about him, thinking he was an idiot, thinking he'd lost the plot. But what had happened was he'd watched the game and he was watching how Ajax were playing and how they were getting. See if you watch, it's an incredible game to watch because there was 8 goals, but every goal they scored was in the counter attack.
Mm-hmm.
So he knew that he needed runners. He knew what the point was. He knew they needed to do something with the goalkeeper. They needed to get the fullbacks in. They get 2 fullbacks in. One was a PE teacher called Stanley Brard. His name was. He was a part-time player as well.
Right.
He taught PE during the week, so he could run all week. He was like a real athlete.
Yeah.
So he was brought in to do Cruyff running for him. Like an established guy who looked like a Dutch porn star as well. Weinsteiger's his name was. Weinsteiger's. He was in. He was a sort of your classic left-sided fullback. Just looked the part, played the part. We got him down, but he would take it around people because no, just you run up and run back. You do your come back and help me, and we'll do something. And that's what he did. He changed a few things, and then he started to win again. And then it was just incredible watch it. See, doing the research for it. It's one of the best times I've ever had in my life. I think writing it was a delight to think the idea and keep it under wraps. And the strangest thing happened. There was just as it was coming out, the publisher contacted us and goes, there's a famous guy in the Netherlands. He's like, and he was like, I don't know, a famous English journalist. Imagine the guy who writes for I'm trying to think of somebody big, but it was some big name that they had written this classic book that it was like a huge book. And I didn't know he'd written it, and it was called The Match, or the season. It was called, I think, in Dutch. And his agent was going around London trying to get it translated and brought out. And I felt terrible, and and the publisher's like, you need to explain to me. I said, I've had this idea since 10. No, obviously not 10. I keep saying that since since 1983, 84. You two were on the chart, so I would be 16 or something like that. Right. Anyway, getting to the point again. I keep saying that. I'm a hyper. Can't help it.
That's all right.
It makes for good TV and idiocy. But so they just, what was I talking about?
We were on about he's on, his
TV. Or the thing, and then talk about the Dutch guy, the journalist.
Book.
And he brings this. He's bringing this. But so I said, that's shocking. I'm neat. And I shocked Dibby. I think I shocked the publisher. I shocked his agent or his manager. I said, you need to give me his email. I want to speak to him. Because I know if he's a writer, he'll know.
Yeah.
And he was brilliant with me. He was just.
Oh, was it good?
He was really cool, and I thought, you're a class act. And I emailed him and spoke a few times, and I was encouraging him. I hope it does come out. But his was like a real encyclopedic book, whereas mine was just like.
Yeah.
I felt like I sort of brought out a colouring in book, and
No.
I know it's better than that, but just you know what I mean. I feel quite confident about saying that now, because mine's is sold and it's done okay, and it's been. Do you know the best thing, that people have enjoyed it, and that's the most important thing. And people, and I've had I get press in Brazil. I remember getting press from, like, again, I keep mentioning the Guardian, but somebody said that's like the Guardian in Brazil. It was in what do you call it? Sao Paulo.
Mm-hmm.
Sao Paulo's got I think it's like 10 or 12 million people in it. Just a city.
Wow.
Right? It's just like woofed. That's
it's got good reach.
Oh no, exactly. And then I was in the fanzine, the Feyenoord fanzine. So I was on that. And then it was Uli Hesse, the guy, sort of great German writer. He works for like 11 Freund, which is, I don't know if my German, I've never did German at school. Mm-hmm. But that was that's the biggest selling footballing monthly in Germany, and that got a wee review in that. So it was amazing the different there was some other place, I can't remember what it was. Germany Feyenoord, and the guys from Hand in Hand, the fanzine was from Feyenoord.
Right.
They were really cool, and there's a wee picture of me somewhere. In fact, can we do pictures? Can I do pictures?
You may be able to share on air, if you can find it on there. Yeah,
if it's able to be there. But maybe we shouldn't, because there's some issues at the start with my technical abilities. So
that's fine. That's fine. We can. I tell you what, you can always send it over, and we can put them on after, because I always do a little write up after.
You can do something.
Just when you said that, actually, as well, you were saying you're on the Feyenoord fanzine. That was actually my next question. Was this move? What were the lasting effects of it? Did Feyenoord have like a sense of gratitude to him that would never have been there before? And was there any resentment from Ajax fans?
Ajax, they hated them after it. Took him a long time to recover from. Then he came back. That's when he went to America, and he came back, and because they're off season or something, he got a knock, and he come home, and he got fit, and he used Ajax facilities.
Yeah.
And Cruyff asking, can I come to your gym and all that? And then he saw the guys playing, and he said, one join in, and he joined in, and ended up getting a deal because he was 10 times the player these guys were. He was still at 31 at this point.
Yeah.
I think it was 31, 32. So there was a wee bit of animosity from the Feyenoord fans. Not as much. I think when they left, I think not animosity, that's a word. I think they were a bit annoyed that he was quitting after, because of the season he had.
Yeah.
So there was a wee bit of frustration that he was there for the year. But Ajax fans saw there was definitely a lot of negativity, and they didn't like him after that.
Yeah, because the only kind of parallel I can draw that I mean, there's a lot more to this as well, but it would be like Maurice Johnson. But obviously there was no going back for him, and then he never made any attempt to go back, or whatever, if you want to call it that. But this healed because Cruyff goes on to manage Ajax, and then he's back involved, and then he goes back. I mean, part of the reason, though, that this story is so unheard of is because Cruyff goes back to being Mr. Ajax again, doesn't he? And it's almost forgotten, or it was
an Ajax man, and he went there because of the people who were in charge of the club at the time. It happens quite a lot in football, but this was obviously a spectacular one. he went away from the club because the people who were there just didn't want to pay him.
Yeah.
Because they saw how much money he was getting from the gate deal they had, and they were starting to look for excuses. But there's an amazing clip of him in a video at the end of the cameras have come into the dressing room. I think I mentioned in the book, and he's got like a 28 or 30 waist or something. He's skinny as anything. He's like a real. He wouldn't say he had a six pack, but he was just like a natural thin guy.
Yeah.
And he's 34 and he's going like that. He takes his boots off and he throws them across the dressing room, maybe even older than that, 36 would have been, thrown across the dressing, maybe even 37, throwing them away. He's like, nah, I'm done. And you knew he opened a beer and I was like, oh man, I was nearly, every time I see that wee clip,
Yeah. Gets you emotional.
It's a wee moment. You think, oh, what a way to get out.
It isn't.
Getting up these people who just wrote him off. They tried to say he was too fat, he was unfit and all that.
That is one of the things that shocked me is when you just think about Cruyff and you think people saying he was fat, when if it's one of them where when I'm reading it, I'm thinking if they think he's fat, you start to feel yourself.
To be fair, a lot of research and a lot of real deep research into a lot of stuff. I think Johan maybe added to that. I think the fat thing was maybe as much him as them. I think he was over egging it.
He did enjoy writing his own history, or
It was brilliant. He had a column later on. He couldn't, but it was how shocking was it that he never really got. He went obviously at Barcelona, he was incredible, but at Barcelona he just came up against one of the worst directors ever. But whenever he was his biggest nemesis. But whenever he come back to live in the Netherlands, he had a house. He still had a house in Barcelona. It was his base camp. He sort of came between both, and he visited a lot and all that. His family and everyone there. But whenever he was doing his writing and doing his TV work and all that with about Ajax, he basically all the guys that came through at Ajax, whenever he went back for the last time to try and restructure it. It was a terrible. It was like there was a book in that.
Yeah.
See the Ajax thing with Bergkamp and all these guys. It was just ridiculous what was going on at Ajax, and it could have been so much easier and so much better and a lot cleaner. But he never really got another job after that. I think he got the job managing the Catalan national side or something.
It's really strange, and actually, I've got that for later on about his later career. But the move to Feyenoord.
So you'll need to keep up with me. Sorry, I'm.
Oh no, it's fine. No. Did Cruyff approach Feyenoord, or did Feyenoord approach him? How did that all happen?
It was a guy called Cor Costa, who's sort of a handsome sort of silver fox, and that's actually Cruyff's father-in-law,
right?
His wife's dad, and he was his agent and his manager, and sort of looked after him. But they get seduced by this guy that they stayed with and close to a neighbour in Barcelona, who was a con man, and he lost sort of like I think it was 5 or 6 million then, which was about 30 now. I remember looking it up.
Yeah, a lot of money,
and it was his sort of savings and all his dough. And his manager's like, have you got Corcosa's like, have you got the papers there? He's like, no. And he hadn't. He bought all these properties, all that stuff, and famously it's like a pig farm or something.
Yeah.
Which was just all a total con. He lost everything and he got him back. He said, right, we'll get you out to New York. New York Cosmos are interested, and that was the first port of call. He didn't like the AstroTurf. Plus Beckenbauer and Pele whispered to him, don't do it because he'll work you too hard. It's like we play one game of football a week, we train a wee bit, but the rest of the day they're getting their money's worth out. And so he decided he went over to the LA Aztecs or something. Aztecs. And I think Elton John originally, somebody like that, all these sort of famous people set up that. I think the guys from Amit Ertegun from Atlantic Records that did New York Cosmos, and Elton John and a couple other millionaire rockers had the West Coast team. So he was out there and he loved it, and he loved the marketing and all that. So to answer your question, I'm jumping ahead again. To answer your question, Cor Costa was the guy who got him the deal, and he'd been speaking to Feyenoord, knowing that what was going on, and they said Feyenoord were up front, said we can give you the exact same deal. You'll do the great deal, and it was something roughly. It was hard to find out. Every time you read about this deal, it sort of changes. But I think the average or the consensus opinion was it was like there was a home gate, and anything above the average, the club and Cruyff split the gate money.
Yeah.
But what you were getting sometimes whenever they were playing against big teams, if it was like PSV or Ajax or Feyenoord were playing each other, you would be getting 60,000, and
Yes.
sometimes it was only 38,000 for the average gate. So there was like it's a fair whack.
Yeah.
So he was maybe getting, I think he would be getting like 30 or 40 grand a week sometimes.
Yeah, well, I was going to say,
In 1983,
yeah,
Ted of Leash and guys like that were getting maybe a grand or 2 grand a week at Liverpool, and it was incredible money.
It's astronomical, isn't it? And
Oh,
that was something I was going to actually ask you as well. Was the deal that Ajax didn't want to give him, was it matched by Feyenoord? So it was
I
it
feel
was like,
better now. Sorry, I knew there was something that right. Oh, right, that's me better now. I'm
that's
happy
all
now.
right.
I'm in my happy place now.
So that
Sorry.
deal, was that would that be on a par with what Ajax were offering him, or
No, well, Ajax were offering them the same equation, if you like, but Ajax support wasn't the ground that they were in. They actually had a smaller ground. That whenever they played in European games, they moved to a bigger stadium.
yeah,
They moved to the Olympic Stadium.
Mhm.
And they moved to Olympic Stadium for big games. So any games that were played there, they made a bit of money. But just the final support were, as we said earlier, that they were more proactive and they would be always there.
Yeah,
Even when they were sixth or seventh in the league, they showed up. So there was always and then the team they had, as I say, there was no superstars. And it was whenever they started to take off, I think they were all showing up because they were so shocked and so
yeah.
surprised.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just bewildering, isn't it? And when you think about that money, the money he's earning and the money he lost, was he embarrassed about his, because he's a genius in so many aspects. Was he embarrassed about his lack of financial acumen, that he was able to just have
Well, he took
the
it well. He took it well. I thought because he admitted it. He put his hand up and said, "Okay, I've made a didn't myself. I shouldn't be doing this. I'll never do it again. But I'll need to go out and get some money for my family because I've got." He was done. He was all his savings and all his stuff were all gone. But I mean, he kind of laughs it off. But imagine being Johan Cruyff and you've done all that, and that's the question. I
yeah,
don't think a lot of people. I think it was. I told people about that as well. No, they believed that he come back out of the retirement because of it. So the fact that he played for Feyenoord eventually, but the fact that he had to come out of retirement, a lot of people didn't seem to know about it.
yeah, yeah. It's another one that just gets lost in the mist of time, doesn't it?
See,
Which
for
is
me,
it
it's as if
adds to his myth.
exactly. That's exactly what I was going to say. It's like if you flood the PR machine with it, and there's so many different versions of it. It's like Oasis or something. It's like if you
Yeah,
keep telling this story about like eventually it became like it was. I think because it worked out so well for him, he was able to look back and say because he get paid a fortune to go out to America.
yeah,
And then he went from America, and he went from the West Coast, and he had a season or half a season with Wim Jansen, which is one of my favourite chapters in the book. Him and Wim Jansen just stoating about. Every time they were playing a game, they used to jump in the car and
yeah.
go for a hurl before the game. That was Wim Jansen played for Feyenoord, and he came through the Dutch international scene, and they played in the same youth teams all the way through. They were really close friends. And then Corcoster managed him as well and had him out beside him, so the two of them were there. So I like that chapter about the over on the East Coast. But he
Yeah,
learned an awful lot about the commerce and about his worth. I think that was an important thing. He learned a lot about his value as a footballer commercially.
yeah,
And what like for his something as simple as his boot. I mean, he always 74 with the boots and all that as well. With Adidas and Puma, he always knew his worth, but he really had a real sort of grasp of the numbers whenever he went to America. And one of his closest friends over in America was the commercial director,
hmm
the team he was at, and he followed him around and he learned from it. And he went out and he did community training with the kids, and they couldn't speak high. They loved him. They would have had him there forever. And then it's really interesting. Just this is often I mean, talk about tangents, but at the time, Cruyff was always pushed and asked, and he goes, "It'll take maybe one generation or two generations, but America will do." And I think America in the next World Cup, they're worth watching. I think they've got a
yeah.
chance. I think now it's getting hosted over there, isn't it? Is it America, Canada? I don't know which.
Yeah, they're all there is a shared hosting,
The
isn't it?
whole thing down. I think that they've got a chance of maybe getting to the last four or something. I think they've got the way he was talking, and if you listen to the guys now, they're maybe it's peaked. Maybe with all the guys like Messi, all the old guys playing again, it's maybe went like New York Cosmos. But
Well, there's at that time when he goes to America, there's a lot going on off the park that has since transpired in football, the wider world of football, which back then was seen as like a bit out there and a bit American and a bit silly and whatever, but it's caught on and now everybody knows their worth, don't they?
Oh, exactly. And one of the books I did before, it was about number 10s, and there was a real good bit in it with Pelly. And Pelly's talking about going out there and playing in these AstroTurf pitches and the state of the pitches and how ridiculous it was. It was just, the standard was terrible. It was a lot of guys like from the English second division and things like that, and first division players at the very bottom of the league, like maybe Southampton players. There was a lot of guys. There's a lot of guys Fettley went over as well, but there wasn't. They had the big names. They had like 3 or 4 big names, but the rest of the team were filled with European players that were like playing in the Spanish league and Italian league, but at lower levels. But I mean, the money's there. Football as a professional. There was a lot of went to Canada as well. Up to but it was a sort of North American league. There was a big Vancouver Whitecaps was a big club for a lot of players.
Yeah. Well, when he goes to Feyenoord, is it always understood that that's his last year, or is it like you say earlier on, it's a bit of a shock to them? Did there's a shock to the fans? Did the hierarchy understand this was just a 1-year fling, or were they blindsided?
Well, no, I think that it was a 1-year deal. I think. But I think there was also, with the way he was playing and the way he was organised and the way they had the team drilled, I think they were maybe hoping that if he stayed, they would maybe have a chance in the European Cup.
Yep.
Because it would still be European Cup then, and it was never like the Champions League. It was in and then it was around, and then it was old fashioned, knockout rounds. So there was I think that was maybe one of the big negatives from the Feyenoord fans I spoke to about it. They thought, well, even if the rest of them, I brought him on as a kind of he was there and he'd maybe give an hour and then come off and organise. They thought maybe, but in the book I go into a wee bit of detail about the level he's I'm feeling it, and it was at that point again, as I said earlier, at Easter time with the 2 big games within days, and he couldn't walk, and I can't do this anymore. He had to get help up the stairs or down the stairs.
Yeah,
he woke up and he's too old.
Time just catches up with him.
And pretty much like me whenever I got up.
Yeah, no, it's the same.
I'm up at 4 o'clock in the morning, go to the loo right enough.
What about the con man? Was his name? Was it Michael Georges Bazivalic? I might have completely murdered that.
That was a good guess. Do you know?
What became of him?
I couldn't remember his name, but I to be honest, I could slightly remember his name, but I was refusing to go have a go at it. So that was a good guess.
No, I wrote it down beforehand, and even then I still can't.
If you try to Google him, it's hard to find him. You ever noticed that?
Well, that's what I was going to say.
What different spellings and all that.
Have you any idea what became of him? Because I can't find anything on him.
No, I think he left off Johan Cruyff's money for. I don't know. No, I think he got done eventually. He was in and out of jail, I'm sure. I think he's in charge of Man United now or something. He's at Man City. He's a chief scout of Man City. I don't know what he's done.
Yeah,
he's probably in charge of the BBC and the comedy and all that.
Yeah. That's another story. So if we fast forward again, for you personally, relating to Cruyff being a hero, tell me about when you seen him live, the build-up. What was it like? Was it everything you hoped it would be?
I was at high school. Should have been studying for my Highers. I think it was maybe. No, I wasn't. I was about 5th year. I think 4th or 5th year. And are you familiar with the term a lift there?
Yes.
Go to the games. I don't know if any of the younger ones that are watching all know this, but you could go to the old days before tickets and like chips and not potato chips, actual like your cards and all that to get you in your season book, your season ticket. It was, you could walk up and pay at the gate. Lower league teams will know about this, but used to in the old days, it was if the crowd was Celtic or Rangers was like, say it was, he's always said about 28,000. It was always a joke. There was actually 40,000 there.
Yes, because
they used to allow people to jump over the gate, and if you were, it was a kind of a rite of passage for young people at my age at the time. But always 2 things about this night I went to see Cruyff. I'm sitting down just now, but I'm 6'1", 6'1 and a quarter, but a slouch because I'm a drummer and I'm always sitting like that as well. Getting my neck's like anyway. And at one point also about this guy, goes, the guy, I won't swear, but I asked this guy for a lift over. He goes, for F's sake, pal, you should be giving me a lift there. I hate you. You know that. And I'm kind of quite big. I was always quite big compared to other people, football and that. And he made a good point that I need to stop asking. But I get to see Cruyff for free. Can you believe that? I get to see him for free.
And it was,
I also get to see Laurie Cunningham played for Real Madrid against Celtic in 1980 in the European Cup as well. And George Best in the 1980 Scottish Cup final, semi-final against Celtic. Celtic won 5-0. Hibs played against Hibs, and Bobby Lennox, I think it might have been his last game for Celtic. I'll digress, sorry. So I got in for free, and it was incredible to see him. He did a lot of things. He just ran about. He organised. He got the ball for the goalkeeper. The way people play now, see the way Barcelona, Man City, and it all came from him. The goalkeeper. One of the first things he did for total football, or to sort of encapsulate the way the Dutch side played, he got the manager to make sure he got a keeper. He called it a super keeper. He wanted his goalie didn't need to be an athletic keeper, the old school like Zet Meyer and all that, stopping the ball. It had to be somebody who could get the ball out, roll it, play it to a fullback, start play. It was all maths. It was fantastic. We did that at Celtic Park when I watched them, and I was in just across from the main stand. And he did this. I think I definitely tell people in the book because I'll never forget it. He was right on line with us. He was about 25 feet away from me, from us, everybody, and he got the ball. He turned around that way, he turned around this way, and then he ran outside his foot. He crossed the ball with outside his foot to the back stick, and it was Lerby, I think, the big Swedish guy who played for. He was a brilliant player. He was just one of the stars of the match after Cruyff and the Celtic guys that made it to each. But McGarvey, who else scored? Can't remember. Anyway, whenever they were playing, he did this amazing move, crossed the ball with outside his foot. And Lerby sort of fluffed the header, and he turned around to the jungle where we were standing at the game. He turned around to Nell like that, rolled his eyes up, and I've never been at a game, but seeing whenever people saw it, even though it was the opponent, I just started clapping, having the audacity to do it, and then feeding off the crowd. He turned around and went like that. So if I would put that in, and he started running, and they started cheering. That was, just like it was only like 3 seconds. Goosebumps thinking about it just now. And then, of course, at the end of the game, they came out. But I think the Ajax side thought that night they had it in the bag and they were going to get through easy. But they came out and Cruyff made them all come out and stand in the halfway line and applaud Celtic fans.
Wow.
Which I thought was incredible. And I saw it all for free.
It's quite amazing. And once, before we go off the book and on with the rest of Cruyff's life, there is actually something that I need to ask you about the book. When I first read it 3 years ago, the whole book is fantastic, but there is particular one piece of writing that I want to ask you about, where you describe a move that Cruyff makes, and I actually thought this is one of the best lines I've ever read in a football book, and it's featuring a match against Independiente, so I'm taking it as World Club Cup, and he's completely done a defender with a back heel. Defender comes and the ball's not where it should be. And you describe it in quite detail, and then you end with, it's as clever as his famous turn. If you listen closely enough, you can hear the sound of the ball laughing. Did you know that line was great when you wrote it, or is this the first time you've heard it? Because it was absolutely brilliant.
No, thanks very much for that. I thought you were actually going to say something else about another bit that I had written, but no, that was nice. Thanks. No, I come from my background is drumming and comedy. That's what I've kind of done most of my up off in football and writing football for football shows in Scotland. So I've always said that I always feel like I just write the way I want to write. I mean, technically I'm not the best writer, but I always try to be entertaining, and I work hard at it.
Yeah.
It's just thanks very much for that. It was awful nice of you, but I forgot about that.
No, it is. Andy, honestly, that line stuck with me at the time, and I laughed when I read it. Like in bed reading the book, and you laugh. And I told other people about it at the time. And there's loads of good mentions in the book, and one of the brilliant ones as well was when you've managed to slip in a bit about Jimmy Calderwood. And he's not quite as mahogany as he was in his later years, but. No, it's great.
It's important that you mention the people who were there, and the guys that were involved in that season. And it was good to see Jimmy Calderwood's name.
Yeah, but was it always the plan for you to tell the story in the way you did, where you've kind of interweaved his life story alongside this year?
I'm awful. Even in this chat we're having,
Mhm.
I'm very loose and very relaxed, and maybe I've never actually physically done stand up. I've written stand up and done stuff, did things in my head. I've always got like 18 different things going on, and I can usually zoom back. I mean, I've been up since about 6 o'clock this morning, but usually I can come and go and go around. And I think it helps with books if you can just keep people, you can take people right to the nth degree and then bring them back with reminding them what we're talking about. And comedy's good for that, and writing's just pulling people back in with, you can do all that. But see, with
Yep.
this book, I thought, no, I'm going to try and be as disciplined as ever I've been.
Yeah.
And I had it all structured, and I thought, right, I can do what I want with his life story. That was a good
Mhm.
thing. All I had to do was get and a lot of the football bits, people really liked it because
Yep.
it was like as if I was trying to say, as if I was like match reports for each game, and
Yep.
just like reading. And the amazing thing was, there was only about one game I couldn't get to. I couldn't see.
Mhm.
I always remember there was only about one game out the whole season. So it was great now with videos, and people can do it. And now a lot of people who'd been reading it say, "Oh, I haven't watched that. It was incredible." Because football was different then. It was a different
Oh,
sport. So you see it now,
yeah.
passing back to the goalie and all that, even something as simple as that, and just the amount of tackles that people got away with. And
Well, through your book, I went back and watched a lot of the stuff on YouTube, and one of the best football moments I've ever seen was the one where I think it's where they win the league, and there's been a pitch invasion,
oh
so
no, and
everybody's on, but then
the
they're
referee
told
had to,
get
aye,
back off, and they
aye,
score, and then it's
aye.
like we're watching a game in the park, and everybody, as
Oh,
soon as that goal
just
goes in, it's just a pile on. It's brilliant.
oh, it's just fantastic. It's fantastic that it was all videoed and all there. But of course, it's all videoed because Cruyff is visiting clubs that like. And it was interesting talking about the clubs he was going, and I'm saying, oh, and they could have went and seen the Beatles museum. There's guitars in the Beatles. It was going to sort of Dutch towns and places like Falkirk or something.
Mhm.
Where is it? You're based? Are you? Is it Leeds?
I'm in Leeds, yeah, yeah,
Leeds. I thought that. I
yeah,
would brother used to support Leeds because all the Scottish guys played from David Harvey,
yeah,
Billy Brenner, Gordon McQueen, Joe Jordan, Eddie Gray, Frankie Gray. No,
yeah, yeah,
we
both,
used to
yeah,
have, and there was a big Welsh goalkeeper, Gary Sprake.
yeah.
Who else could I tell you? Madeley, Paul Madeley,
Oh, yeah.
all these guys. Anyway, I know that because of the shoot team up in the
Hmm.
hall. I used to try and learn them all. So what we talk about? Talk about the before that. Talk about the seeing all the games structure. Yes, 100% structure. I thought if I can get all the games in my reports, but I tried to write it. Right, I'll go to that first. Then he started out as a young kid with no money board. His dad dies young and all that. Then, and then next, I can have him playing in the European Cup final. I can do the
Hmm.
Cruyff turn here. It didn't matter
Yeah,
because I deliberately tried to say to people, no, imagine you're watching a movie and it's just that you go to here and you go to there.
yeah.
So that was probably one of the only books I've really tried to use a bit of discipline.
No, it, fl-
Mm.
it, fl- it flowed brilliantly. It read brilliantly. And when we were talking earlier on, actually, you mentioned about Cruyff's later years, with the column in the paper,
Aye.
and when he instigates this velvet revolution at Ajax. And you said there's a book waiting to be written. Do you think you might write that book?
No, I don't think so.
No.
No, I don't think so. Too many of the people involved at the time didn't want to help and didn't want to get involved in it. Even guys you would think would be quite, can you imagine what? Um, I'm trying to imagine if there'd be a Scottish equivalent to it, and I'm
Hmm.
not maybe like in the English in the Premiership what the equivalent would be, but it would be like guys like Steve Bruce. That might be a good example. Somebody who's been out of the game.
Yeah,
Guys like Cantona coming back, they would just get laughed now because
yeah,
things have changed so much.
yeah,
And I think if you went to speak to them, they get. And I remember trying to get a book to retool it to to hold up. Maybe if
yeah,
he holds up his book and all that,
yeah.
and getting to him was like trying to get to speak to.
Oh, I bet it. I bet it was.
Oh, it was just. But I don't know if he ever got it, but I hopefully did. But no, I think it would be really difficult to do. It would be difficult for them to. Remember, they had to actually all meet, and they failed. They never got a chance to do it. All these guys who were really great Ajax players come through together. The guy who went out to Inter Milan with Bergkamp, he seemed to be the best coach, and he was the guy, I forget his name, big guy, centre
Yes.
half. What's his name? I can't remember. He
Cardiff.
was, so I mean, I don't know. To answer it, I would definitely not know.
Yeah.
I've got two. I'm writing a book just now about Barcelona. Barcelona had another season book about 2009. I'm focused
Okay.
on that, and I'm also there's a gap in my books that if you looked at on Amazon or something, there's a really annoying gap of 4 years or 5 years, and in that point I had a book about record labels which came out about 5 or 6 weeks ago. I managed to get out after all these years, so don't give up, kids.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And also a book about Oasis, which
Oh,
has been
okay.
hot and cold and hot and cold,
And
and it's
now it
really
needs
hot
to.
again, right?
Yeah.
And then after the price and structure, it's really cold again. But no,
Yeah.
it just so that's I'm working on that just now. So I've got too many things on the go, but it would be a good book. But I don't think I would
Yep.
ever. I don't think after I got a wee attachment to Feyenoord, I just felt closer to Feyenoord. I don't think I would want to write a book about Ajax now.
Yeah.
I like them as a club and all that, but I don't like I don't like the way that was all done. You know,
Yeah.
the great clubs, Ajax and Feyenoord and all that, I get all that. I mean, incredible success and great history in football, in Dutch football, European football, but I just think that I would rather not go. I think it's done. I think if they must be fed up with it as well. I think you quite
Yeah.
think of other people, you know, it's like, and it was a
Well,
really bad analogy trying to think of Steve Bruce coming back or something.
no,
I'm just trying to think of how maybe guys like Chalky McClure, Brian
yeah.
McClure and all that were part of like the Fergie sort of team and all that.
Yeah.
Just if they wanted to oust the guys that were in charge because they, you know, but maybe I think man, you're just too big or something. I don't know what's wrong with them, but they're just all going to. It's just not
Yeah.
right. It's
Yeah.
shame.
Well, actually, that was actually going to be one of my closing questions was future projects, but you've kind of answered that there. But the
Sorry.
actual no, it's fine. No,
No, I mean
the kind of the last thing I wanted to ask you actually really was where can people find your books and where can people find out what you're up
Waterston's
to now?
bookshops, Waterston's bookshops, online. I don't mind. I get paid 20p a book anyway. I don't get it the cheapest place you can. Just get it and pass it on to a friend. Don't leave it once you've read it. Pass it on. They always say it's a wee adage in publishing, but if your book, if you sell one, four have usually read it because people pass them on and move it on. And so I always think if you sold like 5,000 books, that's 20,000. The Cruyff book sold well. I'm not sure the numbers,
Mm-hmm.
but I wrote one about Scottish football, a
Yeah.
green one, an initial one about 2019 or something, and then I got a chance to do a paperback update and see the amount of changes in Scottish
Yeah.
football in 3 or 4 years. It was
Yeah.
unbelievable. At
Yeah.
one point, Ali McCoist was like he was in charge of Rangers when other Rangers were struggling and would go down the leagues and all that. And then he went on garden leave, and then about 3 years later, I was updating it, and he was like winning awards
Yeah.
Fox Sport and all that. So it was good
Right.
to get a chance to update. And
Yeah.
that book sold really well again because it was marketed. So it's a lot of times it's about marketing. The Cruyff book sold well because I liked the cover. It was an 80s cover and all that. And it looked the part of the final colours on it. But a lot of people should not be afraid to try to do it with writing
No.
because it's if you get a good idea,
Go with it.
just go with it. And if it's marketed, it'll work.
Yeah.
But,
Well, on that note, time's against us now, but I'm just going to, for the last time, just hold up the book and Fierce Genius. For me personally, anybody who's interested in Cruyff and the period, that is one of
thanks,
the
pal.
books to read. So, Andy, thank you so much for your time tonight, and thank you
Magic,
for
thanks
talking
very
about it.
much. And thanks for your technical expertise earlier on for
Oh,
fixing everything.
don't worry at all.
I
And
hope you managed to get something out of it. Thanks.
listen, don't worry. Well, what I'll do is, you got a plethora of books out. I'll have a look at another book, and then we can do it again in the future if you're up for
There's
it.
one about epic rivalries you'll make like it's out just now. It came out about 3 weeks ago.
I'll have a look at that, and then we can plan it again in the future if you're up for it.
Good man. Okay, thanks, Callum.
Andy Bollen,
Magic.
thanks very much for your time. Take care.
Thank you very much.